Welcome back to Switch to Linux in a brand new year. And what I would like to talk about today briefly is if you have not yet switched to Linux, if you're still investigating it and you're looking at the ongoing situations going on with Windows, and maybe you're like me and I just don't like the Mac UI and things. Um, I want to just give you some piece of advice just to kind of start, because you don't have to dump everything and switch everything over to Linux and try and figure everything all out. Particularly in my situation, I was a work at home person. I had well-established clients and web design company and just a bunch of things, and I couldn't just immediately drop everything. And so what I did is I kept my one workstation on Windows 7, and then I installed Linux on my kind of middle computer there, and I tried out all the different things. And then actually the last thing I did is I made my portable laptop a Linux only. This allowed me to keep that main workflow exactly as I was doing, and then it allowed me to experiment with other things. So if I had some situation where it's like I gotta just do things the way I'm doing things, no problem, I still had the Windows system. But then it allowed me to test for several years before I fully transitioned 100% to Linux. And what I want to talk about today is, in the scope of that web design, what did I do and what software was I using, and what software did I transition to in many of those areas. Obviously, the first thing is web browsers mostly are cross-platform, so those you generally don't have to change. Pretty much any web browser you have been using, you can continue to use on Linux. This is MX Linux on a Raspberry Pi. The installer here even makes installing something like Google Chrome easy. However, I would encourage you to consider looking at other alternative browsers as well. I have on this particular computer, I have a number of browsers. I have Firefox as kind of my main primary use. I have LibreWolf over here, which is here to bust out of my firewall. And I have, what other browsers do I actually have on this thing? I have Chromium on here. Those are the other ones. I guess I have Firefox ESR as well, which is a separate one from Firefox. So those are the only browsers I have on this particular computer. On my other computer that you're not seeing here, I also have Vivaldi and Brave installed as well, and I don't think I have any other ones than those. Let me just have a brief look at that other computer. It's not on screen here, but yeah, those are the only web browsers installed on that one. So your web browsers are the same. I've always used FileZilla for FTP, and that's cross-platform, so I didn't have to do anything different on there. Ultimately, the biggest things for me in web design that I needed to look at changing were my Office suites. And most Linux comes with, or at least is available to install, the LibreOffice suite. Now, in this one here, you can see we have the entire suite, including the databasing features. Since most people don't use those, many distributions really only come with the spreadsheets, the presentation software, and the word processing software. Some of them will also include the draw in there as well. But there are actually a lot of suite packages inside of LibreOffice. And really, if you want a good Office suite that stays local to your device and works really well, frankly, I use LibreOffice, and it was a 100% easy replacement, no problems. And I hear people making up those crazy excuses, and they frustrate, you just can't use it professionally. And that is a giant baloney of hogwash. I mean, I write books as well, so we're going to talk about this one here, but I'm just going to go to we'll go to payhip.com, where you can pick up the books. No, let's not do that. Let's go actually to my my Christian site here. Do Our Walk in Christ, because over here I actually have samples of the books that we have. These are all done entirely on Linux, all right? And it's not stuff. This book cover here, we have 40 hours in it. This is done on Blender, although usually I just use GIMP for the book covers there. And, LibreOffice, I clicked off of there. LibreOffice, these are formatted for the printers, for the same exact professional printers that every other book uses inside of LibreOffice. All right, so there's one example of those particular books. And the other ones here, let's see. Let's see which one has really nice interior styling. I mean, they are all very good. Let's look at this one here. I don't. This one's not my favorite interior styling, but just to kind of show you what you can do with books. The cover's done with GIMP. The interior design here is done with LibreOffice. And when you get a physical printed copy of these in your hand, you wouldn't know they're not done with the same software everyone else uses, which isn't Word either, by the way. I know, I work with a lot of those people. But the point being is that LibreOffice is going to replace all of your Office software for a greater point of 99% of people. And there are certainly some things, obviously, Microsoft Office can do that LibreOffice can't. And newsflash, there's a lot of things LibreOffice can do that Microsoft Office can't. Built-in templating for business cards, stickers, labels is one fun thing. They also have, it saves to default things on your local computer, which is nice and handy and things like that. And there's some other things in there as well. But as far as Office Document Suite, I just switched these. Now, I am cognizant of the fonts that I use. And if I need to send something that is highly formatted, I make extra certain that the fonts are in the format and that I'm saving it as a docx file instead of a open document, just in case there's a compatibility issue, like a formatting issue. There's no really compatibility issues you're going to find, but you're going to find some formatting issues. All right, so the next thing, of course, huge with me was graphic design stuff. And I use GIMP. Again, this is one of these applications that people look at and say, it's just not as good. It sucks. It's horrible to use. No, you're just used to Photoshop. I know. I am completely proficient in both applications. And I'm kind of losing my Photoshop skill. It's been a good several years before I've used it. But the point I'm making here is that if you're making the commitment to try and switch to open source software, you need to learn the software. Think back, if you're a Photoshop expert, think back and say, okay, how was Photoshop before I had any training when I opened it up? You thought it was an impossible program to use. Well, if you already know Photoshop, learning GIMP is super simple. It's just the menus are in different places. The default keyboard shortcuts are different. You can change all of that if you want, or you can adjust to the new ones. But the vastest majority of things you can do in Photoshop, you can do on GIMP as well. And the latest versions of GIMP are getting even better with each particular iteration of it. I'm still on the 2 series. I'm not on the 3 series of GIMP on this particular computer because it's running Debian, Raspberry Pi really, MX Linux most technically. But GIMP itself as a software package for me absolutely replaced it, and I wouldn't go back to Photoshop now if you paid me, especially since Photoshop now you can't even buy it anymore. You have to license it for all eternity, and you can find everything here. Here's all your image related stuff and your layer related stuff, and colors and tools and filters, and then they have some extra filters depending on where you're what plugins and things you're using. But all of these functions and features are here, and we have nice layers and palettes and toolbars and good layouts. So it can do all of the things you can do in Photoshop, you can accomplish in GIMP as well. And so it's not like you're not looking for the absolute 100% exact here-to-here transition, particularly if you're making a change. But what the goal is here is to decouple yourself from these forced subscriptions that are being handed upon us, and to decouple yourselves from big tech who want to steal your data and use it to train AI and all sorts of other weird stuff. GIMP is not going to do any of that kind of stuff. All right, and the last one that I did primarily for web design stuff is I, of course, used to use the Dreamweaver in Adobe, and there are many other options. In fact, I know VS Code is a popular one. There is an open source version of that called VS Codium, which to my knowledge works about the same. I've tinkered with it a little bit, but it's too much for what I need. I just need to boot something up pretty quick, have access to the code libraries, have access to a nice good layout, and develop things. And Bluefish is exactly what I need for that. So here is kind of what we see with Bluefish. In fact, this is kind of defaulting to a page here, which is a WordPress template. You see I can click in and open any of these guys up here and just kind of see what's in there. And you can go under your document stuff and hit your language mode. And you can choose what type of language mode this code is. And this way it will give you code helps, and it will give you it gives you the nice layouts. So let me just find a page here. Maybe let's do something like this, so you can see how it loads itself out here with different code. I'm just making sure there's nothing on there that's proprietary to this particular client. But that's kind of what we see inside of Bluefish Editor. And there are many other options. That's just the one that I settled on that I personally liked. You can go in and have a look at the various tools. Now, that's just kind of the couple things I looked at just in the regular course of the world that I did with web design in the past. What I wanted to mention, though, here is what you need to do is think about your own particular workflow. And that's where this website, alternative2.net, comes in play. This is an excellent tool. There are hundreds of apps, well, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of apps, it looks like, I don't know, and apps in here that you can just go in and type in what you're looking for. So let's say, and I didn't look any of these up. Let's, can I do Microsoft Teams? There's Team Viewer. Okay. So here's Team Viewer. So, okay, I don't want to use Team Viewer. This is remote desktop stuff. I was thinking Teams, but okay, let's go with this one here. So you can click in over here and you can see the alternatives. So here's View Alternatives to it. And there are a number of different options down here. Now, what you can do, though, is you can come up and you can sort by various licenses. So if you're just going to Linux and you don't care specifically if it's open sourced, you can go ahead and click on this, and it will now sort the list down and show you just the ones that are compatible with Linux. All right, so you can see, and they'll give you the top positive comment, they'll give you the top negative comment, and so it gives you a nice, good balance, and just seeing a lot of them. Now, if you're like, okay, I'm going the pure open source route, now you can sort by Linux and by open source and see which ones fit under that. And so what I'd encourage you to do is check any individual application that you need to find an alternative to, and you can hunt around and play around with those different software packages. So many of these are available to download in your repository. So let's see. So this is RustS. That's a freemium. Let's see if there's something else here. This is also freemium. So it's open source. I guess it's probably limited in what they're doing. This one's free and open source, Linux, BSD, Snapcraft, whatever else. So this one might be one you look at if you're looking at TeamViewer. Let's go ahead and look at, well, Zoom is available on Linux. So it's like, okay, if you use Zoom, no big deal. That's available on Linux. I don't know. I mean, you just have to come in here and look at what software you're using, since I've pretty much replaced all of the software I use on a regular basis. And the next fun thing to look at is that many applications are going to some web browser based technology, and web browsers work just fine. And so you can use your devices here to sort out what it is. And what I always recommend doing is getting yourself either a secondary computer or a dual boot with an external hard drive onto Linux. I did that for the first 3 or 4 years. My Linux system was just booted off an external hard drive, and it worked fine for a long time. I didn't actually have that central computer, internal Linux on the hard drive on the inside of it until I moved into the van. It's kind of a neat thing. I actually got a whole new computer just for it and put that system directly into the computer itself. And that's when I made that 100% switch, and I didn't even have any other computers available in other operating systems. And so I just kind of wanted to bring that to attention that Linux will provide a good way to do your workflow. If you're looking at making a switch to Linux, don't wait until the last minute. Start looking around at all the different tools and the options that you have to see what you can do, what you can't, find the limitations, then maybe find forums, comment sections, and ask questions, honest information-seeking questions about how you might find the solutions to the problems that you are still encountering. There are, of course, some Linux communities that are a lot more elitist. There are some Linux communities that are a lot more open. Ours is very open. You can find us on Switch to Linux on Matrix. So you can always find us over there as well. And our community is very kind at helping new people solve your basic questions. So there is what I wanted to leave you with today. And of course, we did this whole video screen sharing on a Raspberry Pi 5 with MX Linux running on it. So let me know your thoughts about that. Which software are you looking to replace? Let us know in the comments down below.